Welcome to the Political REFS with Justin Criddle, Dan Snell, and Jesse Hall. Blowing the whistle on Washington, D.C. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Political REFS with Justin Criddle, Jesse Hall, and myself, Dan Snell. Each week, we come to you and we blow the whistle on Washington, D.C. We watch for behavior, for words, for things that we might consider on a basketball court a violation or a foul, unsportsmanlike conduct. We talk about issues and topics, and just as we have a rule book in basketball, we believe that Washington, D.C. should have some rules, and so we're combining basketball officiating and being Americans and watching the political arena. So we've got a shot clock, as you can see. That's a comment clock right here. It times our comments, so we keep things going fast-paced. We're going to start right off fast. Justin Criddle, what's our first topic of the political?
All right, guys, let's get it going. We're coming down court. We're talking about Vance's trip to Europe and his speech that was made over there. I'm going to pass it right back to you, Dan. What's your thoughts on the vice president's trip to Europe?
Okay. Vice President J.D. Vance went to Europe, spoke with some European leaders. There was, his first trip to represent the United States. You have to hand it to the guy. He's got to be, who wouldn't be a little bit anxious? It's like he's starting a big game there. I think that he one of the things that he was, the fans weren't too happy in Europe about was he didn't talk about Ukraine, and he also had some comments about culture, trying to talk about their culture versus what the United States is and the partnership and NATO. And I guess you could say the question is, did he score or did he have a Euro step, right? Did he, sometimes as referees, we got the Euro step. How do we handle that? And I'm going to call it traveling. I'm going to call it traveling because I think he really didn't accomplish what both America maybe wanted to see and what they wanted in Europe. And that's what I got.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. I was just going to say, for me, I too have a violation. I'm not sure I'm going to call it a travel. My violation would be out of bounds. And the reason I say that he's out of bounds is because he gets the crowd stirred up early in this ball game. And so the reason I'm calling him out of bounds is because I don't want to start the game with a technical foul, which is, one of my favorite calls.
Yeah.
But, and then that's not a violation. That one is a foul. And so I'm going to just call him out of bounds and just go from there.
Okay. All right. Justin.
Yeah. I don't have a traveling. I don't have out of bounds. Some of the comments that he made were towards the European leaders and the kind of threshold that they put on free speech over there as far as penalizing people, charging them criminally for what they've said online and different things like that. So I think he took some shots. That probably wasn't received very well by the leaders over there. But I also heard different comments on the news, saying that, people in Europe or Germany, Nazi Germany, were affected by the lack of free speech. Or actually, I heard someone say that free speech was weaponized to bring about a Holocaust. I did see that Vance met with Holocaust survivors. I don't think that freedom of speech was the cause of what happened in the 40s during World War II. I thought that he tried to bring everyone together. And as I said, I don't think that there's traveling. The only traveling he did was heading to Europe.
So we got an extra, the shot that you took a shot, you threw one up there. So we got some extra time. If anything you want to add there, you get more time on the clock.
Like I said, I heard the comments that freedom of speech led to the killing of millions of Jews, when in reality, there was no freedom of speech. This was not a time in which you could contradict Hitler and get away with it. I also heard rhetoric surrounding the fact that he met with political parties that had ties to the Nazis. I think that that's arbitrary. I think that that's a deliberate piece of misinformation. I think that if someone met with the Republican or the Democratic Party on their visit here, someone in the news stations across the world could say, yeah, he met with people with ties to slavery. Well, yeah, these are the political parties. They don't just vanish after people have done away with ill-willed representatives inside of those parties. So I thought he did the best he could. You guys can follow up with some more comments. I think that that's a great topic. It's a great play. There's probably more than a minute that needs to be shared on your opinion.
Yeah, I would say, you know, just like before Trump was even elected, and then after between the election and the inauguration, he met with some world leaders, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, is that right?" or whatever. So, you know, one thing that really troubles me in the whole world of politics is the narrative. We've talked about this before. You got on the left, you have 15% that they're extreme on one side. On the right, there's 15%. You got that 70% in the middle, which I think most Americans, we want to see good things happen on the court or in Washington, D.C., but the narrative gets spun up. And in that case, it's tough being an elected official. It's not an easy job to be the president or the vice president. So Vance is going to get, you know, the people that don't like him, they're going to take their shots in their narrative, and the people that like him are going to try to lift him up. And so I think he's doing the best he can. It's too early in the game to decide whether he's a superstar VP or not. So, and I made it at the buzzer. Jesse, anything you want to add on that?
I just want to say, I don't think there's any real way or real nice way that we can sum this thing up other than say that, you know what, we have violation or we have technical foul or whatever our situation is. Mine is, again, I just think that the guy is totally out of bounds. He's wrong for what he's doing. And if the game was already in progress, again, I definitely would have hit him with a technical foul. But since we're just starting it, to me, yeah, he offended a lot of people. But I don't think that that's a part of his demeanor to actually think about who he's offending. He wants to just say what he wants to say and go on to the next point. And I agree that as a public speaker, someone that's out in the general public, yeah, you do have a right to voice your own opinion, but you also need to consider what's right and what's wrong. And so with that in mind, I would just say he's totally out of bounds.
Yeah, you got it at the buzzer. Okay, so Jesse, what's our next? We've covered Vice President Vance going to Europe and speaking. What's our next topic here we're going to talk about?
Chuck Schumer and in the U.S. aid.
Chuck Schumer, Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York. So I'll start off my thoughts. Chuck Schumer, this goes back a few days back when USA Aid was the big direction the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, was going after. So he gathered a crowd in the cold. The problem was it was very cold. They tried to gather a group of people outside the offices that were locked of USA AID. The offices were locked, so they had to gather outside, and he gave a speech. And, you know, when you got a crowd in the cold and you only got maybe 200, 250 people comparing it, of course, you're going to compare it to Donald Trump, who likes the size of his crowd, and his crowds were thousands. Okay, and then in my call on this is for Chuck Schumer, it was a flop. It was, you know, the new flopping rule, because he tried to call that he was being fouled. He was being fouled by the Republicans and DOGE, and it didn't come off very good because he was saying, yes, we can, or we won't go, and it didn't go good. Flop.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pick up the rebound and come down and start my shot clock. I seen the video where, you know, he tried to kind of galvanize the crowd and get it going, and it didn't really work out. Yeah, I guess you could call it flop because, you know, he's trying to sell it and there's not a lot of buy-in. But that's not why I would call it a flop. I would call it a flop because he's exaggerating the contact that has been made. You know, it's even like people who are, you know, showing up to the Tesla properties around the country and kind of protesting. You know, people are up in arms and they're angry because the mainstream media is telling them to be angry, but yet they're blind to the fact that billionaires, white billionaires, have always had their hands in the cookie jar in regards to politics, in regards to finance, influence. And this particular situation, everyone's saying Elon is not elected. Trump was elected. Trump has appointed Elon. Therefore, he is an extension of who the people have voted for, okay? These are the doors that you open up. Kamala Harris was never elected to run for president, right? And so that's the side that the right stands on and says, hey, he's not the only one who's quote unquote not elected on the playing surface. She never won a primary vote, and yet she was an inch away from becoming the president of the United States. So this is the ball game, and trying to keep it fair, trying to make it fair. I'm seeing a lot of rallies. I'm seeing a lot of minor, I wouldn't call them riots, but people going to the streets with signs and trying to protest Elon Musk and him having so much influence in the political game. But the reality is, the media may not always show them, but there's hundreds of white billionaires with their hands in politics.
There we go. And you plenty of time. Got that shot off. Now we're coming down to court. I know Jesse Hall has always got. Jesse, what do you hold Chuck Schumer and Doge? What do you think?
Man, this one's tough to follow because there was so much said there until I'm not sure 60 seconds is going to be enough.
Yeah.
Well, you could take, when we see you taking a shot, we'll restart the shot clock.
I think our biggest problem here is, as we look at this, and I like the way Justin framed it earlier, talking about Musk being in the department that he's in, but to think that an individual who did not even show up on anybody's ballot is probably in the news more than anybody else, because he's now making history trying to change some of those things that on paper may have looked good. But folks, there was this 900-page deal that was floating around before the elections. And they gave us great clues about what was about to come. And as a result, now we're into that situation. And
shot goes up, and and the clock starts again. Because Jesse, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just got to keep that shot clock going. And you took a shot, so we're restarting.
But so then now we're into this situation to where the American public is saying, hey, wait a minute, what is this guy doing? Well, he told you about his DOGE program, the Department of Government Efficiency. Well, I mean, so if you were a government employee and you supported him, you just voted yourself out of a job as far as I'm concerned. And I could be wrong there. But I think that overall, with this contract that's out there, $400 million to buy the Tesla trucks, bad news. Last time I checked over there, if we bought those trucks and took them and put them out, in a war zone, folks, there's no place that I'm aware of that you could charge those trucks and make them accessible to people that would be using them. And so there are a lot of things there. And I know my shot clock is over again, but did I get myself a quick steal there?
Yeah, you
got a steal.
You got the rebound again, so go ahead.
I just want to make sure that we understand what we've gotten ourselves into, because as I look at it, we have people that's not willing to follow the rules as they're written. And so as basketball officials, we come together and we say, hey, wait, what are we doing? These guys are playing a game and then they're challenging every call that we make as officials. Well, that's about what's happening right now with this administration.
Great point.
Far too many conferences being held by officials trying to decide who's right, who's wrong. And it's just a thing of, in order to know what's right and what's wrong, you must know what they are to begin with. And again, I will go on record saying, I don't think there are enough people in those positions that really understand truthfully what right and what wrong really are.
What do you got, Dan? You never touched on Elon Musk. You talked about Chuck Schumer and his flopping. I mean, but that kind of segued into what he was flopping about. What do you got on the Elon Musk situation and where it stands right now?
Well, I
obviously
think
it's developing.
Yeah, it's still developing. You know, Elon Musk is a rookie in the arena of politics. We've all seen a freshman on the court. Sometimes they really shine bright, and sometimes they go, "Oh my gosh, that was a freshman mistake." Has he made some rookie or freshman mistakes? Yes, I thought his being in the Oval Office at the White House, having his little son X, his son's name is like X or AI or K-12 or some funny name, but his son stole the hearts of many in America. I think Elon Musk, if he works hard to remain genuine in his comments, and he said it just yesterday, he says, hey, I was the darling of the Democrats, and then I wasn't. You know, I was, and then I wasn't. So it's still too early to make any calls on Elon Musk. Still too early.
Can I jump in on that tail end? Because it is interesting to note that a guy goes from, one party to another party, and then yet when he was on the other side of the table, I guess that's to the left, it's like, okay, so then he this is just my opinion. He discovered that there were too many people that maybe would not support him for the ideas that maybe he presented to them. But then he goes to the other side and then he presents maybe a totally different packet. But then that side says, come on board, because behind it was billions and billions of dollars. And so, who are we kidding when we say that by allowing him to do what he's doing, he's not in a position to make those kind of decisions? I think we gave that up when we took the money a long time ago. That's just my opinion. I'm going to be quiet on that.
Yeah, Justin, anything on Eli? I had one thought come to mind. Go ahead. You got anything?
I couldn't disagree more. I mean, that's just not. Are we all watching the same game, right? We're watching a game. And I got a completely different call on that scenario and how it unfolded. I mean, Elon Musk switched parties for many of the reasons that other individuals within this country switch parties. The left is practicing atheistic, degenerate, perverted ideologies. That's why he switched. He watched them deliberately try to sink a man, weaponize the justice system against the presidential candidate, Trump, and he just simply switched sides because wrong is wrong and right is right. And some people know what's happening right and what's happening wrong. And some people are just blinded by their favorite media outlets. Elon Musk did not switch for billions of dollars. Elon Musk has lost money since he switched to the Republican Party. And that's going to continue to happen because he's not in it for business anymore. He's in it to ensure that his son X has a country to live in 50 to 100 years from now and his children's children. If we can't see that, then it really doesn't matter, because the work that needs to be done for the country to be sustainable down the road is already in progress, and we the people voted for that.
At the buzzer. Well, no, I'm gonna only add, this kind of thought came to me because Elon Musk, as a player in the arena, in the game, it would be like if we walked onto the court, because he is the richest man in the world and he owns X, which is a very influential, and like you said, and we all agree, whatever the rhetoric or whatever the narrative, left or right, X is there, and it's a foghorn, ooh, makes a lot of noise. But he on the court, I don't know who the tallest player in the world is, but he would be like a 7'10". He's the richest man and he's powerful. He would be like a basketball player that's 7'10". So naturally he's going to get attention. Some people are not going to like him, some people. So I see what both you guys are saying. It's still, it's early in the game. See how this 7'10", maybe 8 foot tall player is going to, how he's going to end up.
Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you two this. If you accumulated millions, I won't even go into hundreds of billions, but if you two generated millions of dollars for yourselves, you didn't come from that, for yourselves, how would you want people to perceive you? As if you're smart, intelligent, skilled, and able, and came into that through those sharpening of your crafts, through the sharpening of your skills, through the taking the opportunity and capitalizing on it. How would you want people to look at you? As if you're the devil because you're rich? Or would you want people to acknowledge your ability to find success for yourself? If we're talking about Jesse, your NBA career, how do we want people to look at that? Because you're a good ref, or because you kissed someone's butt and now you're in the position that you're in because it's most beneficial for you? No, you were a good ref. That's why you rose to the level that you rose to. Elon Musk is a talented, smart person. That's why he came from $0 net worth in South Africa to America and became the world's richest man. And by the way, when he came to America, he did it the legal way.
Well, you asked a question, or actually brought up a situation, and I'm going to see if I can respond to that. And I know I can't do it in 45 seconds, but I'm going to do my best.
Right.
Making it to the NBA was the easy part because I had worked my butt off, and that's the easy part. But because I'm dark skinned, I lost my job. And so the color of my skin was never going to change. My ability as a referee, I got better, but yet because I was too dark and I looked like an ink.
Right. And what I'm saying is we're asking Elon Musk that he loses his position because of his skin. He got the job because of his hard work. You got the job because of your hard work. It wasn't right to take your job because of your color of your skin or your status. It shouldn't be right to take his job because the color of his skin or his financial status.
But I'm not asking anybody to take his job. I'm only asking to look at the situation, as I've been doing probably for the last 50 years, is to do what is right and not just take a side because it's going to benefit YOU. I got involved in situations where I made a decision to support individuals that I knew had been done wrong, but yet I got punished for it. And those same individuals wouldn't come to my rescue. It was almost...
Oh, yeah. And I know that from experience. I mean, many of the people in my life today were that support me or hinder me from trying to get where I'm going were never even present in all of my moments or experiences and prejudice. Never there to back me, never there to applaud me, never there to witness me, nothing. And that's just part of the game. That's just part of it. I don't have to hold my grievances against people who were not there to protect me at the occurring point of my grievances. It just is what it is. I have to come forward, move through it, and make America the place today that I want it to be. And no matter who agrees or disagrees with me, I have to be the person that I want to be in showing the best type of person there is to be. It has to be me.
But and again, this is kind of getting to be a just a two-way debate back and forth. And it's not that I'm disagreeing with you. I think our biggest part here is that when I look back over my life or so, just from the officiating side, I started when I was 16 years of age, and now I'm 71. So I've done 55 years of at least one game during that 55 years. But anyways, what I have discovered, and I didn't even bother to think about it, but one night a friend of mine said, "Jesse, you've been doing this for a long time. What do you wish for now that you're getting ready to get out?" I said, "I wished I had done a little bit more in teaching and training, because I can't take what I know to the grave and then it do anybody else any good when it comes to officiating." Dan and I met some 42 years ago, and he's no longer a young man anymore either, but he's been a friend of mine, this entire time. Not because of the officiating, but because we are human beings that agree to disagree in terms of things that others may say, well, man, that's a key point. Ever since I've known Dan, he's always been a Republican. And that's okay. But I also know that Dan has been one to look at it from the side point of what's right and what's wrong. We've had hundreds of conversations about, families and about life itself in terms of what's right and what's wrong. So when Dan tells me something, and, we've been friends for all these years, I look at it from the standpoint, even though I may not agree and vice versa, we understand that in the overall point of view, we can agree to disagree and still be friends. But I think,
in regards to Elon Musk, let's ask this real quick: is it right or is it wrong? Because there's some things that he's doing outside of who he is that he's actually doing and his team inside the position that they're in. Is it right or is it wrong for American tax dollars to be going to sex changes to people who live outside of this country?
Absolutely not.
It's wrong. Is it right or is it wrong?
It's wrong.
Right or is it wrong?
It's wrong.
For millions of dollars of taxpayer money to be going to Sesame Street in Iraq.
Okay, so then you've given me two. Let me give you one.
All right.
So from the standpoint of allowing him to go in and get all of your information or get all of my information and this stuff, there have been people that have been on these jobs for years upon years. yet they can't go in and get the same thing.
There's over 500 people in the federal government right now that has access to the same information that he does. They already have our information.
But
You've already given your social security card. You've already given your birthday. We're already signed up to play the new game that is you're born in a hospital, you're stamped, you get the shots, you get documented, people know where you're at, people accounted for you, you're put into a census, you're put into a population, you're tagged black, you're tagged white, you're tagged other, you're tagged female, you're tagged male. We already signed up for that. So why is he the one person out of the over 700 people within the government that have access to that information? Why should he not have access to it? And what makes you think that he's going to do something malicious with the information? What information does he need of mine? My net worth is about, I don't know, maybe $800 I got back there. I mean, what is he going to capitalize? He's 800 billion, 1.4 trillion. What's he going to capitalize off my $800 or my social security card? When it's already been jeopardized, and the people who are cynical, atheistic, and completely against what I stand for in ideology, they already have information to it and access to it, and Lord knows what they're doing with the information. Why not him?
Okay.
And then we can move on, because I'm sure Dan would like to rejoin the conversation.
I feel like I might have to referee here. I might have to referee between the referees. That's all good.
Okay, yeah. I think that when I look at this situation and I go, man, first of all, because you're so young, I don't think what you realize that maybe you missed a few things along the way. For example, I was born in the great state of Georgia way back in 1953.
Right.
On my original birth certificate, because I was not born in a hospital,
right,
I was delivered by a midwife. That midwife delivered 5 babies during that week. So she messed up 4 of our lives that were born the week that I was born back in 1953, because she put me down as a girl. Okay. Also, my grandpa was born a Negro. My dad was born a colored man, and I was born a Negro.
Okay, we're way off topic, because there was questions I asked, and now we're going into lineage. Where do you think my grandfather was born? What do you think I'm the offspring of? Do you think that my grandfather, who was born in Pittsburgh, Texas, had a different experience with you and shared a different story with me? No, I harbor that same experience. The point is, what is right and what is wrong
in
regards to the spending within the federal government and the U.S. taxpayers, not personal experiences.
Well, but then I think that's where it all comes to a head when, we look at what side of the table we're on in terms of left or right. I'm not on either side of a table. I look at what's right and what's wrong. I don't care who it is. Justin. And no, I'm not saying that you don't, but to come out and say that you're going to just support what the one side is doing.
No, the reason I'm supporting that is because as an independent, I'm looking both ways. The reason I'm supporting this side, where I didn't in 2016 and 2020, is because the other side has become so ridiculous. They've become unreasonable. Really, truly unreasonable. You can't reason. You can't even present a reason without it becoming something about emotional strings being pulled and race and gender. I mean, what's that got to do with right or wrong? We're talking about billions of dollars that have been misappropriated by the federal government, who was entrusted to do right with our tax dollars. And they haven't been doing that. Someone has to be appointed to make it efficient, because they've been inefficient, and he's simply doing the job that he's been appointed for, right? We're not talking about born black, we're not talking about my father born in the projects, of single mother. We're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about today. We're talking about right now, and the fact that the American government needs to be checked, and that's what they're doing, checking it.
So I'm gonna say it was like 3 referees in the college or NBA. They have the replay screens, and sometimes they spend a lot of time at the replay screen replaying, checking what happened on this play.
Yeah,
but what's interesting is I know, for me, basketball official, if I had to choose 2 people that I would want to be on the court with, it would be both of you. And Jesse said, and Justin, even though we haven't known each other as long, I know that both of you guys, who, and I can say this as a man, confident. I mean, I love you guys as friends and brothers. I know that you are people of faith. I know you're great dads. I know you're great friends. You're great basketball officials. But my point is that this is what we're seeing is what's all across America, and it's what I hate to see for America is that I can hear in both of your comments that the narrative out there by the media and social media gets everybody all caught up. And what we're trying to do with the political refs, which you should folks like, follow, subscribe, and comment if you want. What we're trying to do is get people thinking and stirred up, because we do have thoughts and issues both personally, and we try to steer it to, as referees, what we would do. Because Jesse's got great points, Justin's got great points, I've got some reasonable points. You know, part of why we started this, I've written a couple books. One, The Winsome Way, shameless promotion here, the Winsome Way, and another book, The Winsome Candidate. But I have each letter means something, and the S of Winsome stands for Be a Solutioneer. And here's what's going on in America: we have some issues that need solutions, and I think Doge is part of it. But we do hear only selective things. We got a $6.7 trillion budget. And I'm hoping that Doge can find $1 trillion here or there that makes a difference. That would be a solution, because that would impact what's going on in the country. But at the political refs, because sometimes we referee games that are hard. And this Doge thing and Elon Musk for the country is a controversial player. But we'll keep talking about it each week.
Yeah. What's our next topic?
Yeah, our next topic. Let's see. So we had Vance, Chuck Schumer. How about, what do you guys think of this last week? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, Kennedy is a name that echoes in America. First president I really remember was John F. Kennedy, his uncle. Robert F. Kennedy was approved as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Again, isn't that unique? Who'd ever imagine it? He's controversial. But
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give my take first. I mean, I would agree that he's controversial. Don't forget to start my shot clock here. I wouldn't want to go over my time.
Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah. The shot clock got broken there during that whole conversation. Yeah, that was a halftime. That was in the locker room, folks. That conversation there was in the locker room. Let me stop this again. That was an in the locker room conversation about a play that happened on the court. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
You know, RFK, controversial for sure. I mean, but, you know, I think that he's in the right place mentally, and I think that he truly cares about America. I mean, look, so much is given to us by big time money being put up, and then that person saying, hey, go present this to the people as gospel, from the CDC to the, you know, federal government, to the hospitals, to the schools. I mean, these are federal establishments, and what we perceive to be right has been passed down to us by Uncle Sam, by Papa, Daddy, and Mommy, and that Mommy for all of us is America. See, we don't know what way we're going. We're going the way that the stream is flowing. All of us are vaccinated. All of us eat food with chemicals and, you know, pesticides in it. We're all doing that. Why? Because America's our mother. We were born here. We're nurtured here. We're raised here. This is all that we know. And, you know, it's like, you know, we were talking about in the last clip. You know, my brother, I'll go a personal story. My brother, he was delivering pizza, and the person pulled a shotgun on him, and basically called him the N-word, and put the shotgun to him and told him to get out of here. And, you know, coming from the country, coming from a small town, those are type of experiences we realized coming up. I mean, we just experienced them, and there was no protection. There was no other. That was just life. That was life. There was no jail time for that person. I'm saying all this to say this. As much as people pick on the Elon Musk and the RFKs, when I look at them and when I listen to them, I can know that if I were to deliver pizza to that man's house, he wouldn't pull a shotgun on me. He wouldn't racially profile me. He's trying to do something that he believes based on his studies, based on his information, based on his lifetime worth of work. He believes this is the right thing to do for America. If someone believes it, then I can believe in them. If someone sounds like they've been taught to tell me something, I can't put my trust in them. When I hear RFK Jr. speak, he sounds original. He sounds genuine. He's not the most favorable voice to listen to, and he would tell you that himself. But I honestly think that if people let him do what he needs to do, he will uncover some things that need to be uncovered, clean up the food, clean up the healthcare system, potentially clean up some of the things that we've just looked at and said, this is the way it is, so that's the way it is. It can't be changed. I think he wants to change some of the things he knows can be changed. So more power to him. Hopefully he does the right thing.
You got a lot of good rebounders there, because you got the rebound a couple times, and you got
three of them.
You got some big guys underneath that let you back starting to starting to shoot. Jesse, you got something or on RFK?
Not really. Other than, you know what? Nah, I'll pass on RFK, because what I want to do is just tell Justin that, man, you know, we may have to go a full hour today just to get clarity on today's, you know, with President Day coming right around the corner here. I mean, we may have to extend this bad boy, because there's such, you know, fantastic topics, and, you know, Justin has a wonderful point of view, and I do respect his point of view. But I don't want folks to think that, you know what, I'm just sitting here and just not being my usual old self, and that is to get into long discussions, because it's not that I don't respect him at all, because I do think he's a fantastic young man. He's a darn good basketball referee. Obviously, he's well prepared. My biggest problem, though, is that as I look at this as an older fella going out, it's good to know that we've got young people like this coming up. Yes. I got my rebound here.
Rebound.
Behind us. But Justin, just to deal with one thing that you dealt with, as I look at you, if I allowed you and my son to change skin colors, there's no telling where my son would be today. And I'm not going to tell you what he does or anything like that.
Hey, but let me tell you this. I got two older brothers, different moms. They're as dark as you, if not darker. The oldest one, one's in Alaska fishing. The oldest one is the most successful of all of my brothers. I mean, he's got a 6-figure job. He's got a great house. He does 10 times better than me. I lean on him for advice. I lean on him when I can. Raised in Philadelphia or North Carolina, different parts of the East Coast before my dad regained, you know, custody and everything like that. I don't believe that I think sometimes that being whiter or being darker could benefit me, because, see, I'm too black to be white and too white to be black. And so the thing is, I oftentimes have people telling me who I am based on their perception of who black and who white is and what it would be to be multiracial. But, you know, I can tell you from personal experience, in this country, the color of your skin doesn't always play a factor into the outcome, because the most successful of all 4 of my brothers is the darkest one.
Again, I don't know.
His name is Jordan Criddle. You guys can all follow him on Instagram. Go like his pictures. Support.
He's in Alaska?
Well, Jared's in Alaska.
Oh,
Jordan Criddle, he's right here in the Midwest.
Okay. All right. Okay. There you go, Jordan. You got a plug here, national, and the biggest show combining refereeing and politics in the world. Jordan, you were mentioned. So, well, I'll just add here, because knowing you both, and I didn't say earlier that I know both of you. Besides all the great things about you, I know both of you and the horrific stories of things that you've faced personally, things that have been done to you, and without going into details, and you know some of my history. We've all had bumps, and by the grace of God, we're able to overcome them. And a lot of it, it's interesting, because as Jesse said, I'm a little more seasoned in life. I got some gray hair here, and I've known people of all generations. And I do think, like my daughter, like Jesse, I'm gonna tease you earlier when you said something about Justin's younger, not about the race issue, but on something else. But if I say to my daughter, who's Justin's age, they're very sensitive about because they are adults, and I think all of America. And one thing Donald Trump did is somehow, some way, he appealed to, he always says TikTok, that he gained all that stuff. He appealed to the TikTok people. But my only point here is, in you guys, is you both have different levels of experience. A lot of it is based on generational stuff, and it doesn't make either side more right. But it is. I know I have some friends that are my age that really face some things that, fortunately, thankfully, a country's changed a little bit and doesn't matter the color of your skin, to be able to rise up. But in the past, for a seasoned guy like Jesse, 71 years old, he's already said, I think it was harder growing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had a super intelligent father and a super, he was a character, my grandfather. From Pittsburgh, Texas. He passed of a stroke in 2020. They definitely had it. They definitely had a slanted, unfair disadvantage coming up as a Black young man. No doubt about it. My father was born in 1964. He can recall different times where he witnessed, black and white, water fountains and different things like that. Even after, those things were supposed to have been abolished. So
yeah,
I can't refute that at all. Definitely unfair.
Yeah,
definitely
and
unfair.
I've seen even in my history with Jess, I've seen things done, said, and Jesse's faced situations that I was like shocked that. Fortunately, you may not have to face those same things, but Jesse's always again, because he knows not only who he is, but whose he is, biggest of all, whose he is, that he can handle that because of the grace and strength of God in his life. But wow, folks, you're listening to the Political Refs, and we, even amongst ourselves in officiating, adjudicating Washington, D.C., we're having a lot of conversations. So if you're enjoying this, you want to be sure and like, subscribe, follow, comment, share it with 10 people. If you want to write us, thepoliticalrefs@gmail.com, thepoliticalrefs@gmail.com.
What do we got? Dan, did you take a call at RFK? And then
let's see, Jess, were you done about RFK? I think you didn't have much to say. You done? I can get mine in and see. I can beat the shot clock on mine.
So go ahead, Dan. Because we're already beyond our time. We need to.
We don't have time.
We got overtime, baby. We got an overtime game going on here.
But that's not enough time. Over the 5. We got double overtime, baby.
We got double overtime. So anyway, here's my thoughts on RFK. Hey, shameless plug. But in my book, I write about John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and Bill Clinton. Now, some people will say, Bill Clinton, oh, I hate that guy. Or I hate Reagan, or I hate Jay. There's always going to be somebody, the haters. Haters going to hate, as they say, right? The haters going to hate. But for RFK, I grew up seeing what John F. Kennedy did. He created the Peace Corps. We're going to put a man on the moon before the end of this decade, and we did it. And in this case, and I love crunchy peanut butter. Okay, let's just use this as an example. I got it right here on my desk. But if I were to be able to allow people to read these ingredients, and Justin, you touched on it, if Robert F. Kennedy can change the things that our young people and adults put in our lives, we will see health in America. Obesity rates is like 78% of people that are overweight or obese. And we need that change. I need to get a rebound here. I need to get a rebound and go back up. But I think this will be of epic proportion, the history. In Europe, some of the things like this, they may have 4 ingredients. In the United States, I got about 44 ingredients. 44. We have 10 times of stuff that is not good for the human body, the human brain, the heart, the lungs, the bloodstream. And I believe that that's the greatest accomplishment that RFK could do, is change the health of America by the chronic. His first thing he wants to talk about is do chronic disease, and a lot of it is what we put in our mouth. And that's it. I got one rebound, and I got it all out. RFK, I'm with him.
So we definitely got a whole lot of turnovers and rebounds and resetting the shot clocks. But let's just move on, and I think we're gonna ask Jesse for the MVP of this week. Do we have MVP? Is it gonna be unanimous? Is it gonna be arguable? Is it gonna be debatable? What do we got for the MVP?
Jesse, you got somebody you recommend for
Well, the person that I had in would make us be on this show for about another 20 minutes. So I'll save him for later. Okay, because we do need to get off of the air.
Well, tomorrow, as we come every Sunday, if it's Sunday, it must be the political refs. And again, folks, like, subscribe, share this. This week was a blockbuster, double overtime show. And we had a great time. And know this, and I'm going to get a Dick Vermeil moment. I'm going to get tears in my eyes. But I love these guys, and I know we love each other. And we do not let differences, and that's part of the problem with Washington, D.C., is that people, they disagree and are disagreeable. And what happens is they hold on to that. And that's a problem in America, is we hold on, and get anger, and that anger turns and festers up. So for my MVP, and I'm going to just get right to it, and Justin, you may have somebody different, but it's President's Day tomorrow. We each had a president. Jesse, you want to talk about it, but maybe we each say, let's just say all the past presidents were the MVP because they got America, even though we're imperfect, they got us to where we're at. So I'm going to say I nominate President's Day, and my favorite president's Ronald Reagan. But Jesse, you want to add something?
Did just that fast, I forgot where I was going to go. Oh, you know what? We're talking about a double overtime. I just want to throw this little pitch out there. Even though I share my sadness about not being able to end a career with the National Basketball Association, and back in 1983, December, out in Denver, Colorado, I did the longest game in the history of the NBA with the highest score, which was 3 overtimes. Denver versus Detroit. Detroit beat them 186-184. And
Still in the record books.
Wow.
Still in the record books.
Yeah, wow. Still in the record book. And that was with just two guys on the floor. Me and myself and a young man by the name of Joe Borgia.
And the elevation of a mile. Imagine, have you ever gone hiking in the mountains?
Yeah.
And when you're up at the mile high, imagine you, but the player, but you had to do the whole game 3 overtimes, and the players got to come in and out and get out of the game and sit and rest, but you didn't.
But the only reason I say that is that because one of my life theories is that it's okay to agree to disagree. And so, Justin, I want to just throw it at you. Even though I may disagree with you, that has nothing to do with how I feel about you as a person, because people that I don't like, I don't even associate with those people. I mean, seriously. And so as long as I'm hanging out with your brother, you know that I got your back. But it's just a joy to be able to, and by the way, I say this to everybody that's out there listening. It is okay to agree to disagree. And here's why. I've been married to the same beautiful lady for 48 years. And I'm here to tell you, there are a lot of times that we look at each other and go, what? Opposites sometimes do attract, and you can make it work if you want it to work. And I feel the same way about this country of ours. Nope, I have no desire to leave it. I don't want people to think that I'm against the country or against the leaders that we have. That's why I vote. I make sure I get out and vote, and I voted for a lot of losers over my lifetime. I won't even get into that. But yeah, that's the fun part of being a part of the political refs.
There we go. Yeah. So Justin, look, for MVP,
I will go into that. So the MVP, presidents, if we're naming one over the last, at least my lifespan, you got George W. Bush, you got Clinton. You ain't got a lot for me, but you got to go with Obama, not because I agreed with all of his policies and all of his inclusiveness, although I think he felt obligated to be all inclusive. Even though I think there's a difference between behaviors and the way you're born and the way you look. Didn't always agree, but he was the last true diplomatic president that we had, the one who could get up and speak gracefully and agree to disagree. and have the audience walk away saying, you know what, I didn't agree, but man, who could argue with that speech? Who could argue with his reasons? Who could argue with the way he put it, right? And I remember the debate between McCain and Obama, and I just remember taking so much away from that, the way they shook hands afterwards and the way that they carried themselves over the next years in the terms. And although McCain was not president, there was no bashing of one another. I never heard Obama speak another word of McCain. I never heard McCain, on news stations taking shots over the course of Obama's terms at Obama for their indifferences. So the MVP has got to go to Obama. And hopefully, we pray that the politics in this country can rewind itself to a better day where true diplomacy was at stake and people could be graceful when they speak and not tear one another down, because we're truly knives to each other's necks right now. And I can't see 4 years of this. I can't see 4 years after this. All I can see is day to day, and you're holding your breath saying what's going to happen because of the disagreement. So I love both of you. I always appreciate both of you, all the wisdom and grace you pour into my life and the encouragement you pour into me, and so we got to thank you two, Dan, Snell, and Jesse Hall, for being representatives of what America said it was so many years ago.
Hey, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
you know what?
All teared up here. I'm all teared. I'm good for me.
I would think that we were almost in that word that has that CH at the beginning and CH at the end, and all we're missing is you are. And so I like that only because that's where I learned my difference between right and wrong. And nobody's never going to change my mind along those lines.
So your President's Day, would you agree with Justin Obama?
I'm not saying that I'm going to agree with Justin, but I like the idea. I don't want him to think, no, seriously, no. Yeah, so in this case, I am going to go with Justin and President Barack Obama.
And you know what? Ronald Reagan, he would be okay. He'd say, well, yes, that's a good thing. Ronald Reagan, well, yes. Anyway, so don't you wish, there's probably a 1 in 5 million chance that President Barack Obama would see this. I think he would be fired up by the whole conversation today, because he would see 3 guys, different backgrounds, from Florida and background Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, wherever we've been, and I think he would be pleased with what he heard. So, President Barack Obama, you are the MVP in the political refs, and you're in the all-time record books of one of the top 10 ever named. So, Mr. President, thank you for your service, and I'm sure a lot of people are going, turn off this podcast. I don't care. We don't care, because we're the political refs, and we call a good game. We've tried to follow sportsmanship and good conduct on the court and in the political arena. Thanks for listening and watching the political refs. Guys, anything you want to add before we say goodbye to America?
No, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those beautiful things.
There you are.
And there we have it. We'll be back next week with the next edition of the Political Refs.